Something is happening beneath the calm surface, something that cannot be easily seen from the outside. And if you have been feeling this shift recently, you are not simply creating it in your mind. A final and serious choice is slowly forming inside their heart, and somehow your presence is deeply connected to that decision. On the outside, they may appear peaceful, distant, or completely unaffected, but inside, a truth they tried to avoid for a long time has become too powerful to ignore anymore. This is not only about missing you or remembering the past, it is about what this connection opened inside them and the emotions it awakened that they can no longer hide from themselves. Something about you touched a part of them that they kept protected for a very long time. If you feel that this deep change is happening within them, comment and let your energy be known. They are standing in front of an important turning point, and every direction they consider somehow leads their thoughts back toward you. For a long period, they tried to distract themselves with daily responsibilities, busy schedules, pride, silence, and emotional distance. They believed that if they stayed away long enough, their feelings would slowly become weaker. They thought time and space would remove the attachment and allow them to move forward without looking back. But some connections are not easily erased. The more they attempted to push those emotions away, the stronger the feeling became inside them that something important was left unfinished. Now they are beginning to question the story they created for themselves. They are looking back at the moments they ignored, the feelings they avoided, and the truth they refused to accept. Deep inside, one part of them feels naturally drawn toward you with a powerful pull, while another part continues to resist because accepting this truth means they have to become completely honest with themselves. They are finally sitting with their own thoughts and asking difficult questions. Why does your memory continue appearing during quiet moments? Why do certain places, songs, or situations remind them of you? Why has no one else been able to create the same emotional impact? These questions are becoming harder for them to ignore because the connection left a mark deeper than they expected. This is the space right before clarity arrives. The mind can fight against the heart for a while, but eventually the hidden truth begins to rise. The mask becomes harder to maintain, and the emotions that were pushed away start demanding attention. If they return, it will be because they understand that a connection with this level of meaning is not something that happens again and again. And if they choose another direction, it does not define your value or the importance of what you shared. It would only show that they were not prepared for the honesty, growth, and emotional transformation that this connection required from them. Their decision reflects their own inner journey, not your worth. Write yes if you want to understand what their silence truly represents and whether fear or truth will finally take control. Their silence is not always empty. Sometimes silence is where a person faces the emotions they have been avoiding for a long time. Your role now is not to chase them, pressure them, or try to control the outcome. Allow things to unfold naturally. Let time reveal what words were unable to explain before. Let actions show what feelings have been trying to communicate. Some answers only become clear when people stop running from what they truly feel. What is happening inside them carries depth and emotional weight. This is not a temporary thought that disappears after a few days. It is a serious inner conflict that continues growing. One side of them feels a strong emotional connection toward you, filled with memories, comfort, warmth, and a feeling of belonging that feels rare. But another side is controlled by an old, protective voice. That voice was created from previous disappointments, painful experiences, and the fear of opening their heart again. It tells them to stay guarded, remain distant, and protect themselves from possible hurt. These two sides are now fighting within them. Every passing day increases the pressure because they cannot continue pretending that nothing is happening. They may try to hide behind normal routines, work, responsibilities, and endless distractions. They may act like everything is completely fine and that they have already moved on. But the more they try to bury these feelings, the more those feelings return. The real battle was never only about the situation outside of them. The biggest struggle has always been happening inside their own heart and mind. That is why the next choice they make carries so much importance for their future. You became a meaningful turning point in their life without either of you fully understanding it in the beginning. Something about this connection challenged the walls they created to protect themselves. It reached the part of them that existed underneath control, appearances, and all the emotional defenses they built over time. Now they are facing a choice they cannot avoid forever. They can continue living within the same patterns they have always known, or they can step into a new version of themselves that requires courage, openness, and emotional honesty. This new version feels unfamiliar because it asks them to take risks they are not used to taking. It asks them to soften, to trust, and to accept feelings instead of constantly fighting against them. This inner struggle is exhausting them because they are trying to balance what their heart wants with what their fear is telling them. You may have noticed the signs of this conflict through their changing behavior. The moments when they seem close, followed by moments when they suddenly become distant. The times when they appear ready to express themselves, followed by silence again. This movement between connection and withdrawal can feel confusing, but sometimes this does not come from a lack of care. Sometimes it happens when someone deeply wants something but fears the personal change that comes with accepting it. They are not only facing a relationship choice, they are facing a choice about who they want to become. As this emotional pressure continues building inside them, it begins breaking apart the old beliefs they once held. They can no longer convince themselves that you were only a temporary chapter or a passing moment in their life. The more they reflect, the more they understand that your presence created an impact that was much deeper than they first admitted. They are being pushed to see you with greater understanding, but they are also being pushed to look at themselves differently. They are starting to recognize the patterns that kept them away, the fears that controlled their choices, and the reasons they created distance, even when a part of them wanted closeness. Old memories are returning with new meaning. Moments you shared together are coming back with stronger emotions. Conversations they once ignored are now replaying in their mind. Feelings they thought were already gone are appearing again with surprising strength. Comment, turning point, if you feel they are standing at a major decision about this connection. Every silence carries a different meaning now. Every moment of separation feels heavier than before. The distance that once felt comfortable is beginning to feel uncomfortable because it forces them to notice what is missing. This discomfort is important because real decisions are not created through avoidance. They are created when a person finally becomes tired of hiding from their own truth. The process of understanding is happening slowly, even if everything still looks quiet from the outside. There comes a moment when uncertainty becomes too heavy to carry, and they are approaching that moment. Not because something outside of them has suddenly changed, but because the mind cannot continue living in conflict forever. For so long, they tried to control their emotions by making them seem smaller than they really were. They told themselves it was not serious. They convinced themselves that the feelings would disappear with time. They believed they could simply move forward without needing to face anything deeper. But something inside them knows that this is no longer possible. The awareness they tried to avoid is now coming forward with greater strength. They are realizing that ignoring the connection did not remove it. Staying silent did not erase it. Creating distance did not make the emotions disappear. Feelings that carry deep meaning do not simply vanish. They continue growing quietly, even during periods of separation. They wait until the person becomes ready to acknowledge what has been there all along. Now, those emotions are returning in waves during late nights, quiet mornings, and unexpected moments throughout the day. They may suddenly remember you when everything becomes still. They may find their thoughts returning to conversations, memories, and emotions they believed they had already moved beyond. In the middle of a busy life, there are moments when your presence appears again in their mind like a quiet reminder. They are beginning to notice how naturally their thoughts return to you. They are noticing that distractions only work for a short time. They are realizing that something meaningful feels absent from their life, something that cannot easily be replaced by ordinary experiences. Your absence has played a powerful role in this process. By stepping back, you created space for them to experience their own thoughts without outside influence. That silence became a mirror. It reflected what they truly missed, what comfort disappeared, and what emotional connection your presence once brought into their life. When they finally felt the real shape of what was missing, they stopped asking whether it mattered. Instead, they started comparing the depth of this connection with the emptiness they felt afterward. They began understanding that some people leave an impact that cannot be measured by time or distance. If you know you are feeling a connection that goes beyond simple memories, share this message with someone who may need to hear these words. Sometimes another person's journey becomes clearer when they are reminded to look within themselves. Inside them, fear and desire have now reached a powerful collision. One side feels a natural and emotional pull toward you. It remembers the comfort, the understanding, and the connection that existed between you. Another side carries fear, protecting old wounds and trying to prevent them from becoming vulnerable again. For the first time, however, their desire to understand the truth is becoming stronger than their desire to hide. This creates a powerful emotional storm inside them. They are still experiencing hesitation, but the reason is not because they feel nothing. The reason is because they are facing a personal battle that is forcing them to grow. This is no longer only about another person or a relationship. It has become a moment of personal transformation. It is about deciding whether they will continue choosing the safety of old patterns or step into a different version of themselves. From the outside, they may appear more uncertain, quiet, or distant right now. But this should not automatically be seen as the ending. Sometimes people become quieter when they are processing emotions that feel too heavy to explain. They are beginning to understand that staying in the middle space, where they are not fully present but also cannot fully let go, has taken away their peace. They are realizing that avoiding a decision has become its own difficult choice. Now they are being pushed to accept responsibility for what they feel. They are being asked to leave behind the comfort of emotional protection and move toward a connection that requires honesty, courage, and growth. Comment "pull" if you can sense that something is drawing them back toward you, even during this silence. The hesitation that once felt like protection is slowly becoming a limitation. The walls they depended on for safety are beginning to weaken because they cannot carry the weight of these emotions forever. They are remembering the moments when they wanted to speak but stayed quiet. They are thinking about the times when pride replaced honesty and fear replaced action. The distance between what they feel and what they do is becoming smaller because they are starting to understand that change is necessary. When someone spends enough time alone with their own thoughts, the truth often becomes louder than the distractions around them. That is what is happening inside them now. This realization is not coming from pressure created by others. It is coming from their own heart and their own awareness. It is coming from an inner shift that grows stronger with every passing day. They can no longer continue hiding behind uncertainty the way they did before. Type awakening. If this message is explaining exactly what they have been experiencing, then this connection has become too present in their quietest moments. It keeps appearing whenever everything around them becomes still. It returns whenever they try to focus their attention somewhere else in life. And this repeated return is creating something important within their awareness. It is changing the way they view the story of your connection over time. What once seemed like random moments now feels like a meaningful pattern. What once appeared confusing now carries a sense of purpose and deeper understanding. They are beginning to realize that they were not only missing a person in their life, they were missing the version of themselves that came alive around you, the version that felt more open, more honest, and more emotionally connected than they usually allowed themselves to be. And the pain of being distant from that version of themselves has become too strong for them to ignore anymore. This is a powerful turning point in their personal journey. So understand this clearly. When someone starts missing who they became with you, the question is no longer whether the connection had meaning. The real question becomes whether they are willing to return to the truth that this connection revealed inside them. As this awareness continues to grow, the outside world begins to lose some of its ability to completely distract them. They can remain busy with different activities, spend time around others, or fully focus on work, goals, plans, and daily responsibilities. But underneath all of that movement, there is still one quiet feeling guiding them back to the same place, back to you, back to what they experienced, and back to what still feels unfinished between you. This is the stage where their protective ego slowly begins to lose its control. The ego wants distance, certainty, and control because it believes those things create safety. But a deeper part of them is starting to understand that complete separation also creates its own kind of emptiness and pain. Sometimes that emptiness becomes heavier than the fear of closeness, honesty, and emotional vulnerability. So now they are carefully looking at two possible paths. One is the familiar life they know, a life that may feel safe but carries emotional emptiness. The other is the uncertain path that contains risk, but also offers the possibility of something genuine and meaningful. For the first time, that possibility is beginning to feel more valuable than the protection they once searched for. This is where true courage starts to grow within a person, not when fear completely disappears, but when truth becomes stronger than the fear itself. With this awareness comes a quiet calmness that begins settling their restless emotions. The pressure is still present, but it feels different now. It feels more balanced, more focused, and more honest than before. They are no longer fighting every feeling that rises within them. They are beginning to listen to those feelings and understand what they are trying to show. They are slowly accepting that what they feel is real. And that acceptance brings a peaceful feeling into their heart. Not because everything has been completely solved, but because their inner struggle is slowly transforming into understanding, direction, and clarity. They are standing at the edge of an old chapter of their life, looking toward a new possibility that feels unfamiliar but meaningful. And the only bridge between these two places is one honest decision they must eventually make. This is the moment of self-reflection and complete honesty. The silence that once protected them is now forcing them to see themselves more clearly. It is showing them where pride blocked love, where fear blocked honesty, and where avoidance created distance that did not truly need to exist. They are looking back at conversations, memories, expressions, and quiet moments from the past. But now they are seeing those moments with greater maturity, awareness, and emotional understanding. They can recognize where fear influenced their choices before. They can also recognize the value of what was naturally developing between you. This is not only about regret or simply looking back. It is about understanding what truly deserves importance in their life. The things they once placed above connection, such as appearance, control, comfort, and emotional protection, are starting to feel less meaningful compared to the depth of something honest and real. Something else is changing inside their heart as well. Their ability to understand your feelings is growing stronger. They are beginning to imagine what their distance may have felt like from your side. They are starting to recognize the emotional weight you carried while they remained uncertain and distant. That realization softens a person from within. It creates humility and makes it harder for them to hide behind emotional coldness. Because once responsibility becomes clear, everything starts changing in important ways. They are no longer only responding to fear. They are beginning to take responsibility for what they choose to do next with greater awareness.